This is the Erasing Shame podcast, and you are listening to season 4. Thank you for joining us. And we have a new co-host. My name is DJ Chuang, and I am joined by Helen Choi, all the way up north of the border. Helen, thank you for making time to journey with me this season.
Yay! Canada in the house! Thank you. Thank you for having me to be your co-host for season number 4.
Yes, and you have quite the backstory, and I'll briefly share mine and refer to one of the previous episodes from one of the previous seasons for people that want to hear more of my backstory. But for those of you that are joining us for the first time or need a little refresher, my name is DJ Chuang. I am old, 53 years old. Chinese American, came to the US when I was 8. And I've worked in a variety of roles in the nonprofit world most of my adult life. And one of the conversations that we wanted to start here at Erasing Shame was to talk about the challenges of life, especially growing up in a shame-based culture. And shame is almost anything that you can't talk about. One of our guests in season 1 described it that way. So it's more than just a painful emotion. And in season 1, we explored just how much there is to talk about shame because we haven't talked about it. And our rationale here is that because shame festers in silence, we want to bring it to the light and talk about those things in a healthy way so that we can experience healing and freedom. And I myself struggle with mental health, maintaining my own care. I have a diagnosis called bipolar disorder, and I'll add a link in the show notes at erasingshame.com so you can hear more of that backstory. And this season, just to introduce you to the theme, and we'll unpack that in just a couple minutes. The theme this season will be Journey of Healing Around the World. So we're going to bring in perspectives from the United States and Canada and many other parts of the world. And so you will get a worldwide tour through our little podcast here. So that's a quick snapshot of where I'm coming from. And Helen, you have quite the backstory, so take a few minutes to share with our audience about who you are and what brought you here to this conversation.
Okay, well, thank you. And my journey in this, what is called as trauma-based or trauma-informed care organizing really started in 1999. So today it's November the 13th, 2019. So that was, wow, if you do the math, 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Yeah, I was 18 years old. So I'm just going to leave it as that. And is it really 30 years ago?
That doesn't sound right. You're not 48.
No. Okay, my math is wrong. Sorry. Because, when I talk about these trauma stuff, my math goes a little bit wonky.
That's okay. We keep it real here.
Okay. Wait, what is 2009 and 2019? What's the math?
That would be 10 years.
I'm going to go look into my calculator. No. No, not 2000, 1999. 20 years. I demonstrated just now my introduction of myself because coming on podcasting and talking about anything related to trauma-informed care and organizing around shining a light on what is perceived and internalized shame is not easy. So in 1999, 20 years ago from today, I was 18 years old and I was a high school dropout.
Mm.
And I only had grade 9 education. And I was a dropout for 3 years. And I hit a very low point in my life 20 years
Mm.
ago, where just really wanting to overcome poverty, uh, you name it. A lot of first generation immigrant youth may have experience, in particular within Asian communities, and in particular Asian women. We don't really talk about the hidden pockets of poverty, racism within our communities. It's frowned upon, and that's my lived experience. And because I have those lived experiences, and because I reached a low point where I really wanted to overcome my situation and my circumstance, because I knew that my circumstance and situations did not define me and who I am. Because that's when um, you know, in faith-based organizing, we call that being saved by grace.
Mhm.
And I hit a point where I sought out spirituality and faith, and then walks and calling of the divinity to find my meaning and purpose, to reclaim my dignity and purpose.
Mm.
So fast forward from 20 years ago to now, I am I am a mother. I am an accomplished consultant to nonprofits, and I went to school 5 times. I have my certified fundraising executive designation, and I won 14 awards. And I don't want my story or my life to be sort of like, if I did it, you can do it too. Like, it's not like that at all, but rather that um, I understand and empathize um, from from the veins of my, in Korean we call it 피부로 느낄 때까지, which means you feel it in from the veins of your blood.
Mm.
Like that suffering, that shame, that trauma, it's in your memory, it's still in your
Mm.
body.
Mm.
And so as as DJ Trang have been very brave in coming forward with his quote unquote clinical diagnoses of being a survivor, and someone who is seeking healing as
Mm.
someone with bipolar disorder. I've been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mm.
I got diagnosed with PTSD in 2002.
Mhm.
So that was 17 years ago.
Mhm.
I hope my math there was correct.
That one was correct. Bravo. So one of the things we aim to do in season 4 is have a lot more giggles. So Helen
so
brings a lot of joy and giggles.
yeah, so I giggle a lot. But especially when I get nervous. But so yeah, and I was told since my diagnosis that what I have is not curable.
Mm.
And it has been a great source of sorrow. And I don't like the word shame. At one point, I was very intrigued by Brené Brown's research on vulnerability, shame, and guilt.
Mhm.
But because when I deconstruct and for my own self-awareness and analyses of operationalize shame in Orthodox Korean culture. Um, I'm at a point now due to my, I guess, influences of feminist teachings, especially within the context of women of color's feminist teachings, is to resist labeling.
Hmm.
Because with labeling or with just sort of simplifying uh, simplifying the discourse of shame, you kind of tend to internalize it more so. So when I resist, when I come from a place of resistance, it actually for me symbolizes resilience. And resilience is a form of empowerment for me. So when I think about erasing shame, it's actually saying that I'm not afraid. And within faith organizing, we say perfect love casts out fear.
Mm. That's a great quote from the Bible. So I'm guessing your spirituality is from the Christian faith.
Well, so I would have to say my belief comes not from more of like what people perceive to be the institution of Christianity,
Okay.
because I don't really believe in the institutional sense of Christianity, but rather following in the teachings of Jesus,
Okay.
which I view to be um, different. And I tend to center a lot of my work on sort of shining the light in how the Holy Spirit works. And I feel that
Very
a
good.
lot of institutional organizing, especially leaders uh, in faith communities, tend to get the works of the Holy Spirit and mental health confused.
Oh,
So I try to, well, now I'm trying to explore deeply why, like why.
okay. Well,
So simply put, um, I affiliate with myself more of street street feminism, street preaching feminism, like
okay.
going back to the roots of Mary Magdalene.
Okay. Well, thank
Yeah,
you
if that
for
makes sense for our listeners.
we'll maybe talk more about that insofar as it relates to erasing shame and resilience and courage and the journey of healing. Um, we try to focus on a holistic perspective of how we do walk that journey of healing. So, and certainly spirituality is an important part of that for most people. And I'm glad it's been helpful to you. And
Well, yeah, yeah,
I was gonna
because
say, not too many people like the word shame, so we're with you.
oh, well, it's and my interest in working alongside with you on this podcast is I feel that in 2009 I was called into this work,
Mm,
but a lot of the times I faced a lot of systemic barriers because of my gender and my race and my class.
mm.
And now I am pursuing my calling to hopefully become uh, down the line an ordained minister and a registered psychotherapist. So really critically examining the intersection of faith and mental health.
Wow, that's going to be helpful. So for so many people, as well as yourself, I'm hoping, and we'll walk along that journey with you as you walk along in the next, I don't know, 6 months or so. I think is going to be the run for this season. So we're going to wrap up this episode by saying, okay, so season 4, so that those of you that are watching and listening will tune in again. We want to make these episodes digestible. So for season 4, we're going to take a journey of healing around the world, and we're going to invite guests from different parts of the world through our connections. And if you have a recommendation, please send that to us at erasingshame.com. Click on the contact button, or you can reach us on Facebook or YouTube, and you can subscribe to us on almost anywhere you listen to podcasts. We are not yet on Spotify because they require extra post-production. So maybe one day we'll get there with some volunteer help. We do this out of a labor of love. And anything else you'd like to add at this point, Helen, as we have introduced ourselves, shared a little bit of where we're coming from, a parting thought?
Yes. So for our listeners, this is going to be very exciting because a lot of the work that we're going to be engaging in dialogue and conversation is, when we say about journey of healing around the world, my interest is in decolonization, intercultural counseling, and looking at from the perspective, not from necessarily the West, but on the ground best practices from the experts with lived experiences.
Very good. You're using some really good words, and I look forward to unpacking that with you, because I don't have a psychology or a psychiatry background, and I know when I'm hearing people that are professional in working with community organizing and this kind of work, uh, it'd be really helpful to me, and I think to many of our listeners and viewers, to unpack a bit of that and what all that means.
Yeah,
So,
we'll have snippets one at a time and unpack each of those.
okay,
Those critical theories of change.
critical theories of change. I know those were words that were under 10 characters each, but they sure sound like
I
they're
know
really
it. Because
heavy.
I'm such I don't know. I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. I like
Do you
scholarly
remember the
research.
first time that we met over video, what you said to me?
No, I always say off-candid things.
I
What did
remember what you said.
What did I say?
You said you're so nerdy.
Yeah, you are though. That's why I like you. That's why I'm doing
Okay.
this work with you. If you're not nerdy, dude, you. I'm a student for life. I'm a self-proclaimed student for life, and why do we do what we do? Why do we listen on these podcasts? Because we want to learn. We want to grow. Change is constant.
Yes. Yes. And growth is the best way to change, because
Yep.
we don't want to change. We don't want to change the other way. And I hope in our conversations it will give people courage and show that there is more to life, and it's worth living, and there's all kinds of resources that can help you. And if we can be a part of conversation with you, we have an anonymous inbox on the website at erasingshame.com. We found that as people just give voice to what they're feeling, it's their first step to healing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll leave our viewers and listeners with that. Great. Helen, it'll be a great joy to journey with you,
You
around the
too.
world.
Around the world.
Amen. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.